Good evening. Welcome to Sam's. Or nearly. Oh, you Western Ocean labourers, I would have you to beware. When you're leaving Liverpool, no dungaree jumpers wear, but have a monkey jacket always at your command. And think no more of the cold nor'westers on the banks of the Newfoundland. As I lay in my bunk one night, I was dreaming all alone. Dreamt I was in Liverpool, way back in a Marylebone, with a my true love beside of me, a jug of ale in hand. And then I awoke quite broken-hearted on the banks of the Newfoundland. So we'll rub around and scrub around with holy stone and sand, bid farewell to the virgin rocks on the banks of the Newfoundland. Oh, we had a run of Finch from a Ballina Hinch, Jimmy Murphy and Mike Moore. In the winter of '62, the sea boys suffered sore, but they'd pawned their clothes in Liverpool and sold them out of hand, not thinking of the cold nor'westers on the banks of the Newfoundland. So we'll rub around and scrub around with holy stone and sand, bid farewell to the virgin rocks on the banks of the Newfoundland. We had a female passenger, Bridget Riley, it was her name. To her I promised marriage, and on me she had a claim. But she tore up her flannel, her petticoats, to make her mittens for our hands. She couldn't see the sea boys freeze on the banks of the Newfoundland. So we'll rub around and scrub around with holy stone and sand, we'll bid farewell to the virgin rocks on the banks of the Newfoundland. Well, now we're off Sandy Hook and me boys, and the land's all covered with snow. Tug will take our horse around, for New York we will tow. And when we arrive at the Black Ball Dock, the pretty girls will come around, and we'll go no more roving on the banks of the Newfoundland. So we'll rub around and scrub around with holy stone and sand, bid farewell to the virgin rocks on the banks of the Newfoundland. So we'll rub around and scrub around with holy stone and sand, we'll bid farewell to the virgin rocks on the banks of the Newfoundland. The Banks of Newfoundland, an old song from the Penguin Book of English Folk Songs. I will refrain from making the usual joke. I think it's a bit worn now. Anyway, it's very nice to be here doing a virtual gig for Sam's. It would have been much nicer if I could have been there in the flesh, but hey, that's the way it goes. Maybe at some point in the future, when we are through all this crap, then it will be possible. So there you go. In the meantime, I will do my best. Please don't feel shy. If you fancy singing along, then just sing along. It's up to you. Here's a show of hands song written by Steve Knightley. If one can be bothered to delve back into YouTube for a good number of years to when this song was written, you will see an abortive attempt of Steve's to perform it on an old Harmony Sovereign, with me filming whilst sitting on a pile of stones purported to be part of Hadrian's Wall. It was so windy you can hardly hear a thing, but it is quite amusing. And but it kind of, imagine what it must have been like, you know, for a Roman soldier. You know, you've just had 2 years at home back in your little vineyard, and when the sergeant at arms turns up one morning at 8 o'clock and says, "Good news, Lucius, we're off to Britain." Britain? Oh my God, please no. Anyway, it's a song called Cold Frontier. Walk out over ancient hills, see something under heel. Reach out and let your fingers touch a blade whose hard as steel. I was the man who left it there. I tried to build my own, watching over a cold frontier, 1,000 miles from Rome. Now our worlds collide after all these years on a cold frontier. Cold frontier. Well, I cleared the woods, I drained the land. Oh, houses built to last. Now all of my cities and all of my roads, they are contours beneath the grass. What of the men that we couldn't tame? We drove them to the west. Songs and stories still remain. What became of all I left? Just the stones and the clay that the plough reveals on a cold frontier. Cold frontier. Well, a silver coin I'll leave for you. You may spin it in the air. A lonely country it chooses to land. This coin it will pay your fare. It's in the faces and it's in the blood of all who work this land. You'll find traces of all we've been. It lies so close at hand. Now the border's down after all these years on a cold frontier. Cold frontier. Cold, oh so cold. It's raining again. Cold frontier. Singularly appropriate. Winter's coming, we live shorter day. The sun is hunting, all for a place to stay. Jack Frost fingers are in the wind today. Ragged Robin, is he sewing in one of a coconut shell? Well, he can't find the bacon rind, and hunger makes his red breast swell. Now is the time for fire and wine, fire for the body and wine for the mind. We will sing and play till break of day, and we will sing Jack Frost away. Old October bowls me over, damp November it makes me sneeze, and then December, cruel December, brings the frost to freeze my knees. Now is the time for fire and wine, fire for the body and wine for the mind. We will sing and play till break of day, and we will sing Jack Frost away. Winter brings us to the singers and the drinkers' glass in hand, with roll-up smokers and midnight jokers, and listeners all who sit and stand. Now is the time for fire and wine, fire for the body and wine for the mind. We will sing and play till break of day, and we will sing Jack Frost away. Now is the time for fire and wine. Fire and Wine by a great English songwriter, a man called Steve Ashley, who's a particular hero of mine, and a singularly appropriate song for this time of year. So way back in the mists of time, there was a whole load of small recording studios right up in the hills in Mid Wales. One was called Mid Wales Sound, another one was called the Voil. The Voil is still there, and it's still got ancient valve analog technology, and a lot of major rock bands still go there in search of that particular sound. And just round the corner, about 5 miles away, there was another little studio run by a man called Alan Green, sadly no longer with us. And they used to make a lot of folk and indie country music albums there. And this is a long time ago. This is way back in the days when Paul Downs and I were treading the boards and playing what were then hundreds of folk clubs up and down the country. And Alan Green was the first person I ever encountered with a comprehensive country music record collection, and I mean all the good stuff, all the old stuff where it seamlessly moulds into folk and backwards and so on. And I used to often go up into this room where all these records were, and sort of pull down records by people I'd never heard of, and often stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. My God, I can't do that now. 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning playing records. And I came across a guy who I'd never heard of called Hoyt Axton, and when I started putting on his records I realised I knew his songs, my parents were not folkies in any sense, but they kind of liked stuff that was on the late programme, and so they were familiar with songs by groups like the Kingston Trio, who had a worldwide hit, if that's what you'd like to call it, with a song called Greenback Dollar, and that was a Hoyt Axton song. And and Hoyt Axton's mum, May Axton, co-wrote the song Heartbreak Hotel, which of course was a bit of an Elvis number. Anyway, I just like this guy. He had an astonishing voice. Again, he's dead now. All my heroes are dead. Actually, that's not quite true. But he had an astonishing voice, and this is this particular album. I forget the name of it now. Featured a fiddle player I'd never heard of called John Hartford at that time. So this was about 1970, I don't know, 1975, something like that. And I'm jolly glad I put that album on, because it changed the way I play the fiddle completely. It kind of introduced a little bit of Americana into my otherwise awful folk fiddle playing. We had a phrase for it. We used to call it bad Swarbrick. I was an exponent of bad Swarbrick. So there you go. And I learnt this song, and I've carried it with me ever since in various different forms. But it's one of the most beautiful folk songs. Many people have rewritten this song over the decades and sort of claimed authorship of it, but fundamentally it's a folk song, and the story radically alters. But I'll stick pretty much to the Axton story, as it were. Lost my eyes in a blacksmith shop, year of 46. Working on a revolver, it was out of fix. I am so sad and lonely, and I'm condemned to roll. 'Cause I am a blind fiddler, and I'm a great long way from home. I've been down to Knoxville to talk to Dr. Lane. He operated over my eyes, but nothing could he gain. I am so sad and lonely, and I'm condemned to roam. 'Cause I am a blind fiddler, and I'm a great long way from home. I've got a wife and 3 little kids, they depend on me, sharing all my sorrows wherever they may be. And I hope that they'll be careful through this life they roam. 'Cause I am a blind fiddler, and I cannot help that. Lost my eyes in a blacksmith shop, year of 46. Working on a revolver, it was out of fix. I am sad and lonely, I'm condemned to roam. 'Cause I am a blind fiddler, and I'm a great long way from home. The Blind Fiddler, lovely old song. It's possible I might have been just about the only person in the whole of the UK that I knew about actually singing that song for a long time. And someone in the States, some archivist, spotted it. I didn't know the guy, but out of the blue, I got this package from the States, and it was I've still got it somewhere. It was photostats and all the rest of it of all the versions of The Blind Fiddler. This guy just thought I would be interested in knowing, which indeed I was. Yeah, it was a rather nice thing to do. Takes me back, it does. This is kind of a wheel turns full circle. I've always known this song, but I've only just started doing it. So there's a well-documented traditional folk song called The Myrtle Tree, and then there are many versions of it, which and the story radically changes as well. Just goes to show. But this one is Flash Company. Actually, years ago, I was. There was a great band with Mick Doonan, Tony Wilson and the Matthews brothers, Wilson, Matthews and Doonan, and they made an album which I had a hand in, and they did this song Flash Company, which is The Myrtle Tree, basically. I've done The Myrtle Tree recently, but this is Flash Company. And then of course also there was a short period of glory where June Tabor and my good mate Mr. Martin Simpson played together, and they did a fantastic version of this. I'd be interested to know how the two stories in these songs diverged, because the first one, the Myrtle Tree, is about a mythological tree that grows in the ocean, and it's from a woman's point of view, whereas the Flash Company is very much about a young man who is wasting away because of love. Once I loved a young girl as I love my life. I thought in my heart I would make her my wife, with the white cotton stockings and her high ankle shoes. And she wears a yellow handkerchief wherever she goes. Take this yellow handkerchief in remembrance of me, and wear it around your neck, my love, in Flash Company. Flash Company, me boys, like a great many more. And if it hadn't been for Flash Company, I'd never have been so poor. Fiddling and dancing were all my delight. The keeping of Flash Company has ruined me quite, has ruined me quite, me boys, like a great many more. And if it hadn't been for Flash Company, I'll never have been so poor. Take this yellow handkerchief in remembrance of me, and wear it around your neck, my love, in Flash Company. Flash Company, be boys, like a great many more. What if it hadn't been for Flash Company, I'd never have been so poor. Now once I had the colour as red as the rose, and now I'm as pale as the lily that grows, like a flower in the garden. All my colour has gone, Why do you see what I have come to? Love in this one. So take this yellow handkerchief in remembrance of me, and wear it around your neck, my love, in flash company. Flash company, be boys like a great many more. And if it hadn't have been for flash company, I'd never have been so poor. Take this yellow handkerchief in remembrance of me, and wear it around your neck, my love, in flash company. Flash company, be boys like a great many more. And if it hadn't have been for flash company, I'd never have been so poor. Flash Company, also known as the Myrtle Tree. There was a singer-songwriter called Jonathan Kelly, who was very popular on the college folk circuit in the 70s, when there was such a thing as a college folk circuit. Saw him a couple of times, and Paul Downs and I used to do a lot of his songs. And again, recently, I've just revisited this one. It's an old European legend, but Kelly wrote this. I like this one. He died sadly a couple of years back, and it was a great writer. Some lovely songs there. Anyway, here's a chilling tale. Let this be a warning to you. As I was walking onward in the early morning light, leaving far behind the prison where I'd spent the night, no idea of what I'd done or why they punished me. I'm feeling nonetheless relieved and grateful to be free. I fled to woodland far beyond the rusted gate. I knew it was a shortcut if I kept my walking straight. And then, like out of nowhere, this old risen man appeared, holding high his one hand while the other stroked his beard. Beware the cursed outer stair, this warning did he bring, that no one makes it through this wood, coming out as they went in. But a change is what I'm looking for, I told the sad old man, and bidding him one last farewell, to the woods I ran, until I came to a river where I stopped to bathe my feet. It was there I smelled her perfume, delicate and sweet. I stood up and turned around, and there in front of me stood a beautiful woman who simply stared at me. And then I knew it was all true, what the old man had advised. You must be Anna, I said as I looked into her eyes. Beware the cursed outer stair, this warning do I bring, that no one makes it through this wood, coming out as they went in. Then we came together in a passionate embrace. I felt my body weaken and my heart begin to race. And when at last the kissing stopped, I saw to my alarm, this woman now had turned into a young girl in my arms. I heard a childish laughter, saw her vanish through the trees. I turned back to the river, my reflection for to see. And there inside the water, saw exactly as I'd feel. my horror, I turned into an old man with a beard. Beware, cast it out a stair. There's a wall into Hypering, that no one makes it through this wood, coming out as they went through. 7 long years awaited by this gate, wishing I could die. Now that can only happen if some other young man comes by. And then I know I must warn him to go some other way. I'd hope that like most of men of that age, he won't believe what old men say. So beware, curse it out a stair. It's a warning to Hypering, that no one makes it through this wood, coming out as they went through. Ballad of Cursed Anna. For years, I've known a man called Les Barker, who's a hero of mine. He's a very funny poet, and and very good serious poet as well. But he does write great parodies of folk songs and other songs, and occasionally he sends me something, and this certainly is no exception. With apologies to another great and long dead singer-songwriter, a man called Cyril Tawney. This is the No Fun Line. Don't mind the wind or the rolling sea, the weary night never worries me. Don't mind the storms and don't fear the squall, because we've got no ships at all. There's room below on the No Funnel Line. Some chap called Graylin called around and gave us £13 million. And in his haste he failed to spot the thing we need, that we have not. There's room below on the No Funnel Line. I can hear you all singing along at home. One day they'll come, the HGBs, down through the town, all along the quays, and down the ramp, all unaware, and find the ferry. It isn't there. There's room below on the No Funnel Line. There is, I fear, no way to wend our way from Margate to Ostend. Our name may well be seaborne freight. Oh, without a boat we're buggered, mate. There's room below on the No Funnel Line. Oh Lord, if dreams were only real, we'd make our fortune from no deal. One final toast, please raise your drinks, as May's Titanic, it slowly sinks. There's room below on the No Funnel Line. And as we slip beneath the sea, the band will play Abide With Me, and barely yards from Blighty's shore we'll sail the No Funnel Line no more. All together. And barely yards from Blighty's shore we'll sail the No Funnel Line no more. Les Barker's No Funnel Line. I delayed seeing the film Jaws for years and years and years, and Part of me is glad I did. I never got over the rubber shark, even though the tail's quite good. But there is this sublime moment, and it, of course, is that wonderful moment where Robert Shaw, as they're boarding or getting the gear together to go off and hunt the great rubber shark, he starts singing Spanish Ladies to the major tune. I don't know where the major tune came from. The first version I learned was, again, from the good old Penguin Book of English Folk Songs, and it's the minor tune. But I do like this version. And there is a story attached to that. And I can't verify the truth of it, of course. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to ask. But Robert is, whilst they were rehearsing the scene and getting themselves together, Robert Shaw is supposed to have just started gently singing away stuff. He knew folk songs, all kinds of things. And Spielberg is purported to have said, "What's that you're singing? What's that you're singing?" So he said, "Well, it's an old folk song." And he said, "Let's keep that in." So supposedly that's what happened. I can't verify the truth of that. Anyway, I love it. And it's this version, so please don't feel inhibited. Sing to your sofas. Farewell and adieu to you Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders to sail for old England. We hope it is short time to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt sea, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to with the wind from southwest, boys. Hove our ship to deep soundings to take. 45 fathoms where the white sandy bottom, so we squared the main yard and our channel didn't make. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. Rant and we'll roar all on the salt sea, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Oh, the first land we sighted was called the Dodman. Next ran out of Plymouth, off Portsmouth the Wye. We sailed by Old Beachy, by Fairlight and Dover, and then we bore up for the Southmoreland lines. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt sea, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Well, the first land we sighted was called the Dodman. Ran men of Plymouth, of Portsmouth and White. We sailed by Old Beachy, by Fairlight and Dover, and then we bore up for the Southmoreland lines. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. Rant and we'll roar all on the salt sea, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Then the order was given for the Grand Fleet to anchor, and all in the Downs at night for to lie. Let go, you shank painters, let go, you can't stop us. All up your blue garnets, let tanks and shields fly. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt sea, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. So let every man drink off his full bumper. Let every man drink off his full glass. We'll drink and be jolly and we'll drown melancholy. And here's to the health of each true-hearted lad. All together now. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar all on the salt seas, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ashton to Scilly is 35 leagues. From Ashton to Scilly is 35 leagues. The Rubber Sharks song. Okay, let's shift over to the old tenor guitar. We'll take a break after this one, the obligatory break, where you can go to your own bars and, of course, pour the drinks that whatever you want. Unless, of course, you've got them all lined up in front of you. I shall probably have a cup of tea and so on, and be back with lots more in a very short while. So I was lucky enough to live on Dartmoor 9-10 years ago now, and I lived on a lovely old heritage farm out there, beautiful place, very, very fond of it indeed. And I met some amazing characters, amiable villains, some of them, and I told Steve Knightley about a few of these people, and subsequently he met them, and he very quickly wrote this song to, I don't know if celebrate is the right word, but anyway, this is called Transported. I'm 25 acres, enough for my needs, but it's other men's cattle I'll water and feed. One day I will pay for the life that I lead. I'm a thief from the edge of the moor. My uncle and me got it down to an art. He set off for stealing not long after dark, through the fields and the farms where it's easy to park, and the way back home is secure. One cold winter's night after Tavistock Fair, stolen sheep in the trailer and rain in the air, we felt the flat tire and we reached for the spare, blind side of the 838. But the nuts on the wheel must have rusted in place, and I'm under the landy with spray in my face, with only an hour to get out of that place, cursing our bad luck and fate. But there's no transportation down under, no gallows in the old county jail. At best in the morning we're fine with a warning, the worst in the evening we're back out on bail. Well, in the distance we saw a blue flashing light, 2 feet and a loud voice came out of the night, asking if everything here was alright, and would we be soon on our way. But John said that he'd go and get help on the phone, and in the distance I'm hearing their soft urgent tones. But that copper, he wouldn't leave it alone, his light on my back number plate. But instead of the 8, John dialed 999. He said, help, we're stuck at the scene of a crime, a gas station, a robbery a mile down the line, completely well locked in the gents. Well, I heard the police radio burst into life. We took the call, slammed the door and sped into the night. We worked the wheel loose and we clamped it on tight. Through the first gate all those sheep went, for there's no transportation down under, no gallows in the old county jail. we're back out on bail. So come you West Country villains, if you set out to steal, keep your phones charged, always check your spare wheel. And if you get caught, use your wits, not your heels. Remember my uncle and me. For somewhere there's a copper who's just hopping mad. Some farmer is counting more sheep than he had. And we're in the middle of the moor at the Warren House Inn with our pints really glad. We weren't born in 1803, 'cause there's no transportation down under, no gallows in the old county jail. The best in the morning, we're fine with a warning. The worst in the evening, we're back out on bail. The worst in the evening, we're back out on bail. The worst in the evening, we're back out on bail. Transported. See you in the second half.